She was just a poor girl from a faraway village. All she wanted was to earn a little money, so her younger brother could go to school. But when she came to the city, she was treated like dirt, insulted, ignored, shouted at. But life has a strange way of turning the tables. Because the same girl who once slept on the floor walked back one day, not with tears, but with power. You won't believe what happened. Watch till the very end. Because the way karma hit, it was something no one expected. If you love powerful stories like this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. More real African stories are waiting for you. In a small town in Africa, there lived a rich woman. Her name was Madame Grace. She had a big house. The floors were shiny and the walls were very clean. There were many rooms in the house. A big gate was outside, and 2 guards stood near it all the time. Madame Grace had many workers, a cook, a driver, and a gardener. She had everything a person could dream of. From outside, her life looked perfect. She lived with her husband and 2 children. Her husband was a businessman. He had a shop and some other businesses. He was always busy. He didn't stay home much. The children were small. One was a boy, 10 years old. The other was a girl, 8 years old. Both went to a good school. Madame Grace was always clean and neat. Her hair was always nice. Her clothes were stylish. Her voice was loud. She liked to give orders to everyone. Even when she smiled, it did not feel kind. People in the area called her that strict madam. One morning, while drinking tea, she said to her husband, "I'm tired of the new girl. She is slow and useless. I want someone new, someone young and fast." Her husband was reading the newspaper. He didn't reply. So Madame Grace called a man. That man brings housemaids from villages. When the man came, she said, "Bring me a G. IRL who doesn't talk much. I don't want someone lazy. I want someone who works without stopping. I don't care where she is from. Just make sure she can clean and cook well." Next day, the man came back. With him was a young girl. She looked about 17. She wore a simple long dress. Her slippers were broken. She had a small bag in her hand. Her face looked scared and tired. The man said, "This is Ayo. She comes from a poor village. Her father is dead. She wants to work." Madame Grace looked at her and said, "She looks too small. Can she even carry a bucket of water?" The man said, "She is strong and works hard." Madame Grace looked at Ayo from top to bottom and said, "Fine, she can stay. I'll test her for 1 week. If she's lazy, I'll send her back." From that day, Ayo started her new life in that big house. Every morning, Ayo woke up before everyone. She started cleaning at 5:30 a.m. First, she mopped the living room, then cleaned the kitchen, then washed the clothes. After that, she helped in the kitchen with breakfast. She also packed the kids' school bags. She never said no. Even when Madame Grace gave more work, Ayo just nodded and did it. But Madame Grace never thanked her. If Ayo forgot to clean a corner, she shouted. If the food had less salt, she shouted. If Ayo walked slowly, she shouted, "You are too slow. Why do you walk like a snail? Are you stupid? Can't you hear me? You village girls bring lazy habits here." Ayo never replied. She just looked down and said, "Sorry, Ma." Even when Madame Grace scolded her for things she didn't do, Ayo said nothing. She just worked. Her room was not really a room. It was a small store near the kitchen. There was no bed, only a thin mat, an old pillow, and a small noisy fan. When it rained, water came through the roof, but Ayo didn't complain. At night, she sat in her small room and looked at a photo of her family. Her mother and younger brother lived in the village. They were very poor. Ayo came to the city to work and send money for her brother's school. He was only 9. She wanted him to study and live a better life. Every night, Ayo prayed, "God, please help me. I want to work hard. I want to support my family." But life was hard. One day, while cleaning the kitchen, Ayo dropped a glass. It broke. Madame Grace came running. "What did you do? That was expensive. You think this is a free house?" Ayo quickly bent down and picked up the pieces. "I'm sorry, Ma," she said. "Stupid girl, clean it fast. And don't cry. Be thankful I gave you a place to live." The children saw this. The small girl, Titi, asked her mother later, "Why do you always shout at Ayo?" Madame Grace said, "Don't ask silly questions. She is a maid, not your friend. These village girls need strong hands, not soft hearts. Next day, Ao worked harder. Her hands had small cuts from the glass, but she didn't stop. Then, one week, Ao felt weak. Her body was hot, her head was heavy, but she still woke up early. She still cleaned and cooked. While sweeping, she sat down for a moment. Madam Grace saw her and shouted, "Why are you sitting? Did I say you can rest?" Io stood up quickly. "Sorry, Ma," she said. That night, she fainted in the kitchen. The guard saw her and told Madam Grace. "She fainted." Madam Grace rolled her eyes. "She's acting. She wants attention. Let her sleep. She'll be fine." No one took Io to a clinic. No one gave her medicine. Next morning, Io woke up and worked again. She moved slowly, but she still did everything. Madam Grace didn't care. She had no feelings. One day, a guest came. Her name was Mrs. Kemi. She was kind. While they had tea, Ao brought a tray of snacks. Mrs. Kemi looked at her and said, "Pshaw, he looks so young and tired. Is she okay?" Madam Grace laughed. "She's fine. These girls always act. She just doesn't know city life." Mrs. Kemi looked again. She felt sad, but said nothing. Next day, Ao was frying food. Hot oil jumped and burned her hand. She screamed. Madam Grace said, "Why are you making noise? You think only you have pain? Clean the oil. Stop acting." Io put cold water on her hand and kept cooking. At night, she cried quietly. She missed her home. She missed her brother's laugh, her mother's stories, the birds in the trees. She wanted to go back, but she couldn't. She needed this job. Then, something changed. One day, Madam Grace's husband came home early. He looked worried. "We have a problem," he said. "What happened?" Grace asked. "I lost money. A big deal failed. We owe the bank. We may lose this house." Grace got scared. "No, this is my house. I can't live in a small place." "I'm sorry," he said. "We have no choice." Days passed. They sold the car, then the furniture. Madam Grace cried every day. Finally, they moved to a small flat. Only 2 rooms. No garden, no servants, no nice things. She looked at Io and said, "We can't pay you now. You have to leave." Io said nothing. She packed her small bag, 1 dress, 1 photo, and a few coins. She looked at the house one last time. She didn't cry. She didn't say goodbye. She just walked away. But life was not finished yet. Something big was coming. After leaving Madam Grace's house, Ao went back to her village. The journey was long and very tiring. She had no money to take good transport, so she sat in the back of an old truck that was carrying food. The road was very rough. Dust went into her nose and mouth, but she said nothing. When she reached her village, it was already dark. She knocked on the door of her small mud house. Her mother opened it. When she saw Ao, she started crying. "My daughter, you came back," she said. Ao hugged her tightly. Her little brother ran from inside and jumped into her arms. "I missed you so much," he said. They sat on the floor together. There was no electricity. A small lantern gave yellow light. Io looked at their faces and felt peace. After many months, she was finally at home. But this peace didn't stay long. Her mother was sick. Her chest and legs had pain. She couldn't go to the farm now. They had no money to buy medicine. Her brother left school because of money problems. They didn't even have enough food. Io felt sad, but she didn't cry. She had already cried too much. "I will find work again," she said. The next morning, Ao went to the village market. She asked people if anyone needed a helper, but no one had any work. The village was poor. Then she went to the church and met the pastor's wife. The woman said, "I know a woman in the city who helps girls like you. Maybe she can help you too." She gave Ao the number of a woman named Mama Fola. Io went to a nearby town and called from a shop. She called Mama Fola and told her everything. After listening, Mama Fola said, "Come to the city, I will help you." So Io packed her bag again and left her village one more time. But this time, she didn't feel scared. She had already seen how hard life can be. When she reached the city, she met Mama Fola. She was an old woman with a kind face. She lived in a small but clean house. She had helped many girls before. Ayo told her about Madame Grace, how badly she treated her. Mama Fola listened carefully. Then she said, "You are strong. You didn't run. You didn't give up. That is your strength." Ayo stayed with her. She helped in cleaning, cooking, and taking care of the house. In the evening, Mama Fola taught her how to sew clothes. She also taught her some English and how to write her name. Day by day, Ayo became better at sewing. She made dresses, shirts, and skirts. After 2 months, she started selling them in the local market. People liked her work. Her designs were simple and neat. She saved all the money she earned. After 1 year, Mama Fola gave her a gift, a second-hand sewing machine. "You deserve it," she said. Ayo cried. She had never got a gift like that before. She opened a small shop near a busy street. She started making clothes for women, children, and school uniforms too. In less than 6 months, her shop became popular. People from other places also came to get clothes made by Ayo. She sent money home every month. Her brother started school again. Her mother felt better because now they could buy good medicine. Ayo didn't forget her past, but she didn't let it stop her. She used her pain to build a better future. Then, one day, something strange happened. A car stopped outside her shop. A woman came out with a dress. She was angry. "This dress is not stitched well. I paid money for this. I want it fixed." Ayo stood up and said, "Let me see it, Ma." But when the woman looked at Ayo's face, she was shocked. It was Madame Grace. She looked at Ayo for a few seconds like she was seeing a ghost. "You... Ayo?" she said slowly. Ayo looked at her. This was the same woman who made her cry every day. The woman who didn't care when she was sick. The woman who shouted and threw things. But now, Madame Grace was not wearing gold or expensive clothes. Her dress was old. Her handbag looked cheap. Her shoes were old too. She had no driver, no guard, no maid. "Yes, Ma," Ayo said softly. "It's me." Madame Grace's face turned red. She looked ashamed. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, "I didn't know this was your shop." Ayo said nothing. She checked the dress. "There is no mistake," she said. "But I can still fix it for you, Ma." Madame Grace nodded. She couldn't look into Ayo's eyes. She sat down and waited. While Ayo worked, many customers came in. Some smiled at her. Some praised her work. One lady said, "Ayo, your work is the best here. God bless you." Madame Grace heard everything. She just sat quietly. Her face showed regret, but she didn't say anything. After some time, Ayo gave her the dress. "It's fixed, Ma," she said. Madame Grace stood up. She wanted to say something, but no words came. At last she said, "Thank you." Ayo smiled. "You're welcome, Ma. Take care." Madame Grace walked away slowly. Her back was bent a little. Maybe she was carrying shame. Maybe it was just heavy memories. Ayo watched her leave. She didn't feel happy. She didn't feel angry either. She just felt peace. That night, she sat in her room and thought about everything. The house she cleaned, the tea she made, the nights she cried on the floor, and how all those things brought her here, to her own place. She closed her eyes and said in a low voice, "Thank you, God." Because karma doesn't always come with loud sound. Sometimes, it walks in quietly. After Madame Grace left the shop that day, Ayo sat quietly for a while. She started thinking about everything. Many old memories came back. The old days, the shouting, the pain, the nights when she could not sleep, the last food she ate, the glass she broke, the time when she was very sick but nobody helped her. She remembered how small and weak she felt in that big house. But now, her life was different. She had her own shop. She had her own customers. People gave her respect. She had her own money. She was helping her family. Still, she didn't feel proud. She just felt thankful. She looked around her small shop. Many dresses were hanging on the wall. Her sewing machine was old but still worked. There were 2 small stools and a table full of cloth pieces. The shop was not big, but for her, it felt like a palace. She thought, "I didn't take revenge. I only worked hard, and life gave me something better." After a few days, something strange happened again. A man came inside her shop. He wore simple clothes. His shirt had some holes. His shoes were dirty. He looked tired and hunted. "Are you Ayo?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she said. I am Madam Grace's husband." Ayo looked at him carefully. He didn't look like the rich man she saw in the big house. His face looked old. His eyes were full of sadness. "I came to say sorry," he said. "I know my wife hurt you. I didn't stop her. I was too busy with money and work. I thought everything was okay. But it was not." Ayo said nothing. She just listened. He continued. "After we lost our house, everything changed. Grace also changed. Now she stays quiet. She doesn't talk much. Sometimes she cries alone. I think she feels sorry." He stopped for a second and said, "Now we live in a small rented room. It has only one bed, no servants, no car, just me and Grace." Ayo still said nothing. Then he said, "I know you don't have to forgive us, but I wanted to tell you, you are doing good. I feel proud of you." Ayo nodded and said, "Thank you for coming." The man smiled a little and went away. That evening, Ayo went home and told Mama Fola everything. Mama Fola listened and said softly, "Forgiving is not easy, but when you forgive, your heart becomes free." Ayo asked, "But what if they don't change? What if they say sorry today, but tomorrow they do the same?" Mama Fola said, "Then it's their problem, not yours. You did your part." Ayo felt peaceful inside. She didn't want to hold hate anymore. She wanted to move forward. 1 week later, she got a message on her phone. A woman from a school near her was searching for someone to teach sewing to girls. Ayo went to meet the woman. The woman said, "We want a simple person, someone who understands poor girls, someone who teaches with hope." Ayo smiled and said, "I will try." So she started going to the school every morning. There, she met many girls. Some were just like her, poor, shy, and scared. They didn't talk much. Their clothes were old. Their eyes looked tired. Ayo sat with them, talked to them, told them her story. "I was like you," she said. "I had no money. No one helped me. I had no hope, but I learned. You can also learn." The girls listened to her. Some cried, some smiled. Slowly, they started learning. She showed them how to hold a needle, how to measure cloth, how to make small dresses. Some girls made their first shirt in just 3 weeks. Ayo felt proud, but more than proud, she felt useful. She felt like her pain had some meaning. One day, a little girl came late to class. She looked very hungry. Ayo asked, "Did you eat anything today?" The girl said, "No, my mother had no food." Ayo gave her a piece of bread and said, "Eat first, then we will learn." The girl smiled with tears in her eyes. That night, Ayo went home and cried. But she was not sad. She cried from her full heart. She thought, "God gave me a second chance. Now I want to give this chance to others too." In her shop, work was going well. More people came, even some from far places. They said, "We heard about the kind tailor. We want you to sew our clothes." Ayo started earning more. She bought better tools. She hired a helper in her shop. But Ayo did not change. She stayed simple, kind, and hard-working. One day, when she was closing the shop, a young girl came running. "Auntie Ayo! Auntie Ayo!" Ayo turned and smiled. "Yes, dear?" The girl said, "My mama wants to say thank you. I made a blouse for her with my own hands. She said now I'm not just her daughter. I'm her little tailor." Ayo laughed and hugged the girl. In that moment, she remembered something. She remembered her first day in the big city, the heavy bag, the small room, the shouting, and now she was someone's hope. She thought, life is not about where you begin, it's about where you go. That night, she sat near her window. She looked at the stars, and she whispered, "Thank you, even for the pain, because it showed me who I really am." One morning, Ayo opened her shop early. The sky was still dark. The air felt fresh. Birds were singing. She cleaned her sewing table, checked her tools, and got the cloth ready for the day. Everything was quiet and peaceful. Then she saw a woman standing outside her shop. The woman looked worried. She was holding something in her hand. Io went to the door and said, "Good morning, can I help you?" The woman looked up. Her eyes were soft and her face looked tired. "I hope you remember me," she said. Ao looked closely. Then she understood. It was Madame Grace again. But this time she had no makeup. Her clothes were simple, her hands were shaking. "I'm sorry to come again," Madame Grace said. "I didn't come for sewing today. I came to talk." Io said nothing. Madame Grace took a deep breath and asked, "Can I sit down?" Io nodded and gave her a chair. Both sat in silence for a while. Then Madame Grace started talking. "I think about you every day, every night. The way I treated you. It hurts me now." Ao looked at her but still stayed quiet. Madame Grace said, "I was proud. I thought money made me better than others. I didn't care how others felt. I saw you working day and night. Still, I was never nice to you." Her voice broke. Her eyes became wet. "You cleaned my house, cooked for my kids, even when you were sick. And what did I do? I shouted at you. I insulted you. I never cared about your pain." Io felt pain in her heart. She didn't want to remember those days, but she couldn't forget them either. Madame Grace wiped her tears and said, "I lost everything. My money, my house, my pride. Then I realized I never had love in my heart. I was empty inside." She opened her small bag and took out a brown envelope. "This is for you," she said. "It's a letter. From me." Io took the envelope but didn't open it. Then Madame Grace said something Ao didn't expect. "I know you now teach poor girls. I saw your video online. You were sharing your story. My daughter watched it and cried. She said, 'Mom, you were the bad woman in her story.'" Ao was shocked. "Yes," Madame Grace said. "Titi, my little daughter. She remembers you. She said you were kind. You helped her with homework. You tied her shoes when her mom was busy." Ao gave a small smile. Madame Grace said, "She told me to say sorry. She said it's never too late." Silence again. Then Ao said, very slowly, "You hurt me. A lot. I cried many nights in that small room. I felt like I was nothing." "I know," Madame Grace said softly. "I can't change the past. But please, let me do something now." She stood up and said, "If you ever need help, for your shop, for your school, for those girls, call me. I want to help. Not because I feel sorry for you, but because now I respect you. You are stronger than anyone I have ever seen." Io said, "Thank you for coming." Madame Grace gave a weak smile and left. Io sat there, holding the envelope. She didn't open it right away. She waited till night. In her room, under soft light, she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. It said, "Dear Io, I don't know if you will ever forgive me. I was full of pride once, and to me, you were just a girl. But now I know you were stronger than me. You came from nothing and made something beautiful. You showed me what real strength looks like. I'm sorry I didn't help you when you needed it. I hope this small gift brings you peace. Yours, Grace." At the bottom of the envelope was a bank check. It had a big amount, enough to help 10 more girls learn sewing, enough to buy new sewing machines. Io looked at it for a long time. She didn't know what to feel. She was not angry. She was not happy. She just felt quiet. She folded the letter and put it in her box. She didn't cash the check. She needed time to think. That weekend, she went to her village. Her mother was waiting at the door. "Welcome, my daughter," she said. Ao hugged her and gave her food and money. Her brother was growing fast. He showed his books to Ao. "Look, I got the highest marks in maths," he said proudly. Ao laughed and said, "You are smarter than me?" That evening, they sat under the mango tree. Io told her mother everything, about Madame Grace, the visit, the letter, the check. Her mother listened and said, "Sometimes pain is not a punishment. Sometimes pain is a teacher." Io nodded. That night, she looked at the stars. She thought, maybe life wanted me to face all that, so I could become this person. She took a deep breath and smiled, because she knew this was not the end of her story. It was just the beginning. Io came back to the city after visiting her village. Her heart was full of happiness. She saw her mother smiling again. Her brother was doing good in school. The house was still small, but there was peace inside. Now she wanted to give this same peace to others. When she reached her shop, she sat near her sewing machine. It had some scratches. The paint was going away, but it was still working fine. She touched it and said softly, "You helped me more than anyone else." Then she picked up the envelope from Madame Grace. She looked at the check again. It was a big amount. It could change her life again. But Ao didn't want to use it for herself. She went to Mama Fola and said, "Mama, I want to start a center, a real place where girls can learn for free." Mama Fola smiled proudly. "I knew you will do something big," she said. So they started looking for a small building. After some weeks, they found one. It was old, but strong. It had 3 rooms and a small open yard. Io used the money to fix the roof, paint the walls, and buy more sewing machines. She named it Io's Hope Center. She made a big sign outside. People from nearby areas came to see it. Everyone said, "This is a good work. God will bless you." Soon young girls started coming. Some were orphans. Some had no money. Some had left school. Some were just confused in life. Ao welcomed all of them. She said, "I was also like you, but someone gave me a chance. Now I want to give you one." She taught them how to stitch, how to cut cloth, how to measure, and how to make nice clothes from old fabric. But she also taught something more. She said, "Never think you are useless. Even if people treat you badly, don't give up. Your value is not what others say, it's what you believe." The girls listened. They worked hard. Some became very good. One girl made her sister's school uniform. Another stitched a small bag and sold it in the market. They started earning little money, and with every stitch, they got back their broken confidence. People started knowing Io. A local newspaper wrote about her. A radio show called her to share her story. But Ao stayed the same. She still cleaned the floor every morning, still cleaned the machines, still gave food to girls who had nothing. One evening, she got a call. It was from a girl named Titi, Madame Grace's daughter. She said, "Auntie Ao, I want to learn sewing from you. Can I come to your center?" Io was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Yes, my dear, you are welcome any time." Titi came the next day. She was tall now, about 18 years old. She hugged Ao and said, "I remember your kindness. I want to be like you." Io smiled and said, "You will be even better." Titi learned fast. She helped other girls, she cleaned, she shared snacks, she laughed with everyone. Life was really strange. The daughter of the woman who once hurt her was now learning from her. But Ao didn't feel hate. She felt peace. One day, Titi asked, "Auntie, how did you forgive my mom?" Io thought and said, "Because I didn't want to carry that pain forever. I forgave her not for her. I did it for myself." Titi nodded. She understood. Then came a big day. It was 1 year of Io's Hope Center. They planned a small event. The GIRLS made dresses, shirts, and a curtain for the stage. Io bought juice, snacks, and cake. They decorated the yard with paper flowers and balloons. Parents and neighbors were invited. When the event started, one girl stood on stage and said, "Before coming here, I had no dreams. Now I want to be a fashion designer." Everyone clapped. Another girl said, "Ao Auntie didn't only teach us sewing, she taught us to live with respect." Everyone had tears in their eyes. Then Ao went on stage. She looked at everyone and took a deep breath. She said, "I was once a house help. People looked down on me. They thought I was nothing. But I didn't stop. I didn't give up. I kept going." She paused. Then she said, "This place is not just for sewing. It is for healing, for hope, for new beginnings." Everyone clapped loudly. Even Mama Fola had tears in her eyes. Io cut the cake. She gave each girl a piece. They laughed, they danced, they took pictures together. At the end, when the sun was setting, Io stood quietly and watched the girls playing. She felt something inside. Not pride, not success, but peace. Real peace. That night, when she went home, she sat by her window again. She looked at the stars like she always did. She whispered, "Thank you, God, for the pain, for the lessons, for the chance to help others." Because karma had done its work, not by hurting someone, but by lifting someone who was broken before. And that, my friend, is how the girl who was treated like trash became the one who gave treasure to others.